My name is Fraser.
My name is Mark.
And we are the hosts of the geekiest show alive. To the outside world, we're ordinary geeks.
But in the Fab International Studios, we talk comics and find other geeks just like us. This is Geek of the Week.
It's trade-off.
So beautifully in tune.
I'm not going to say anything else because I always... Oh no, I'm differing again. No.
You always did that.
No.
You don't know what to do.
I don't know what to do. I was going to stop myself from differing that time, but
Never.
then by trying to stop myself from differing, I still currently am differing.
People expect dither.
They want the diver.
You wouldn't be...
Deliver on the diver.
Yeah, that.
Now, this is Trade-Off, where we get our comics. Where do we get them from? Anywhere.
Wherever we store
Anyway,
them.
we don't get them from the loft anymore.
Currently a gigantic pile in my office at home.
we tried to get a rhyme, but if the rhyme's not true, what are you going to do?
Wow.
Now, Mark and I have, let's say, different tastes in comics. You know, you like you said earlier in the show, you sort of read comics in the 90s and stuff like that. I started reading them a couple of years ago and stuff like that. I've managed to do some catch-up and stuff like that, read some new stuff, and yeah, we've just got a different taste. I'm very childlike in my ways, just in life, not even just in my taste. I like team-up books. I like, your Marvel, your DC, your Archies and all those, and sort of like feel-good things. I read them to escape. And Mark, you're into sort of like your sci-fi, your fantasy, your horror.
I am.
So much horror.
It's not like I don't like superheroes. It's just I'm much more into...
Horror.
Yeah, I know you don't get on with horror.
So much.
So yeah, we've got
Scary.
different tastes, and what we do on this part of the show is we give each other a book that the other one hasn't read, because we do have such different tastes, and we try each other's favourite books.
For a bit, yeah. It's sort of like our
Take it in
taste are
turns.
sort of like melding into one as well in a way. Sort
Yes
of like, 'cause
and no.
I think it's because we're both open-minded people.
I'm open-minded most of the time.
Yeah.
Most of the time.
Mine's a bit more open.
Not so sure
Yours
it is
is
when
just-
it comes to the horror.
Yours is jarring open. No, because I read them anyway.
You do.
If I was
You
like
get
you,
very
I would have just ignored. Nope.
You get very upset.
Nope. I've got the power to veto horror.
No, you haven't.
Yeah, I'll just run away from it. No.
Anyway,
No,
it was
give me
your
a-
choice
Give
this
me a
week.
nicer book. Yeah, and for International Women's Month, what we've been doing the past couple of trade-offs, we've been doing sort of like comics either with strong female leads or strong female presences or writers, that was the word. Writers or creative teams on the books and stuff like that. And the book we're going to look at is Amazing Spider-Man, Renew Your Vows. Now, this is going to be a bit confusing. This is not the Spider Island... No, this is not Spider Island. This is not the Secret Wars tie-in book. This is also going to be, I believe it was issue 13 to 18. This was part of the Legacy relaunch that brought a load of new creative teams on different books for Marvel, and also acted as like a stepping stone for new readers to come in. They brought back all the original title numbers, because a lot of them were still doing, like, Marvel got into this routine where they just kept renumbering, and it actually ended up being more confusing than it was worth. But in their Legacy, they put, okay, this is how many issues of this book there's been. So like Spider-Man went back
that's
to...
interesting.
Yeah, Spider-Man went back to like the 800s and stuff like that. But then they put Marvel Legacy and then the story, part 1. So it was mainly focusing, again, getting those new readers in, but sort of just being like, right, jump on board. And they do a really nice thing in the first issue of this, where at the end, they did it at the first issue of every Marvel Legacy thing. They had like a 2-page, sometimes 1-page, basically origin story or something to keep you up to date.
Previously on.
Exactly. And this one got me very, very... it got me so emotional just because... Mark, do you want to talk about your opinions on this book?
Well, I'd read the original Renew Your Vows, the graphic novel of that, and I'd loved it. So I suspected I would like this, and I liked the concepts of Spider Family. It's lovely, isn't it?
Yeah.
Spider Fam, nice.
Spider Fan.
Initially, not so fond of the art on this.
Yeah. Before we delve into it, I'll set up
So you asked me to get started and then you stop me.
I'm mistaken.
Fine.
Just take a pause. So just to set this up, the Jodie Hauser, the one we always talk about her, it seems a lot on Polar Pass. She's done a lot of great stuff. She's recently she's been working on a load of Star Wars books, especially Qui-Gon Jinn. Stranger Things. She did the latest Doctor Who run with the 13th Doctor. But she was the new writer on this. This is why we're talking about it. We're also talking about the lead characters. So basically, Renew Your Vows is an alternative universe where Peter Parker, in the main universe, did a very silly thing when Aunt May died. He made a deal with the devil to save Aunt May, but it meant that his marriage with Mary Jane never happened, and it's caused a lot of heartbreak for a lot of Spider-Man readers, especially me, because I love those two together. But
wow.
So Renew Your Vows is basically a world where he didn't make that deal. It's also funny enough because they mention it in early Renew Your Vows books, but this is also a world where Civil War didn't happen because of that. And there's also small different changes and stuff like that. But it is, like I say, it's focusing on the family. So you've got Spiderling, who's a little daughter. I think it's Annie.
It is Annie.
And then you've got Mary Jane as Spider. Like she's in full spider gear and everything, so it's the three of them sort of going around being a family team, and it's cute. And there's also other family dynamics in there, like you get Norman Osborn Jr., who's the grandson of Norman Osborn, the son of Harry Osborn, and it didn't work out for those other two Osborns, but now he's like a little kid who has to he's a little kid who has to deal with controlling Oscorp. But this legacy title, it's the first one's called 8 Years Later, so the Renew Your Vows, when it started, it was starting them when she was very young. I think she was only like it wasn't even, must have been like
7 or 8.
Yeah, 7 or 8. She was super young, but now she's a teenager. You know, she's in high school, sophomore. If you're American, you probably know what that means. Don't know what that means to us, but it's focusing around that. Off you go. Unpause. Sorry, just had to say. I realised I just had to say it up.
I was gonna talk about that. The 8 years thing is a clever idea because it felt like the original Renew Your Vows stuff had told its story with a little girl, whereas now she's a teenager. That's a new story and a new thing to look at, and I think that's a great idea. And I'm glad that they carried it on from there. The fact that Civil War didn't happen means that, Wolverine and Spider-Man particularly matey in the main universe? That's not something I was aware of.
So it's funny. There's this thing between them. There's a great issue of Ultimate Spider-Man where they switch bodies. They do like a Freaky Friday thing.
Right.
There's always this thing with Wolverine and Spider-Man. It's whether like they actually get on or not. And like Wolverine's always like, oh, this stupid kid or whatever. And Spider-Man's just like it's someone mentioned this and I can't remember who. It's like a baby boomer and a millennial trying to get on, because Peter Parker, you know, he sees all these different heroes and stuff like that, and he's fought in all these wars, and Wolverine's like, you don't show me enough respect. I fought in this war and that war, and it's like, yeah, so did Captain America. And he's like, I fought against Nazis. So did I. Fought against Red Skull and stuff like that. So it's sort of there is that thing there.
So if Wolverine's a boomer, and Spider-Man's a millennial, can you give me an example of a superhero that would be Gen X, or like my generation? We've always been forgotten. We've had the worst deal. It completely sucks to be Gen X. We've got nothing good from the boomers, and we've got nothing good from the millennials. We're the generation that are completely screwed.
So who's the most whiny superhero in
that would be a millennial.
Oh no, wait, you've got what's his face? Thunderstrike. There you go, that's your Gen X.
Thunderstrike is a Gen X. Brilliant.
But no, that's basically their dynamic. So they sort of do get on in a way, but it's just sort of like they're always butting heads, but in a sort of jokey way. And I do love the stories between Wolverine and Peter Parker, and it's funny that it comes into this story, and like obviously because they're both trying to train Annie up and stuff like that.
The one thing I noticed that I liked was that Wolverine has always been acknowledged as being short.
Oh,
he's shorter than a teenager. And I thought that was clever.
They cartoonise it, and I think it's brilliant. That's what this universe does, though. It goes back to that sort of like, I don't know, it's just more whimsical, like sort of like Teen Titans Go.
It's okay to be short and badass. And,
exactly, yeah. But
you do get gangly teenagers, so I just thought that was a nice little touch, well remembered and well done. You know,
it's just. I think it's just one of them, though, because it's like a lot of comic books now, because you see Wolverine in the big screen, it's like he's looking like Hugh Jackman, so he's got to be this tall thing. So they're just like, no, we're remembering our roots and stuff like that. And
obviously, Annie was gangly and skinny next to this gigantic chunk of muscle of a man. He just happens to be short, and people are like that. Not all superheroes are going to be Arnold Schwarzenegger or Zac Efron. You're going to get the Andre the Giants or various different shapes and sizes of people. And I don't know what made me... But that stood out as something that was really well done.
It does stand out, and it's
After I bitched about the art, that was really well done.
I enjoyed the art just because of I think of the vibe it got for the story and stuff like that. Because, like I say, this is the second run of Renew Your Vows.
Yes,
because
8 years later.
They did. Oh no! Sorry, they they did the Renew Your Vows that you read with the Warzone battle planets from Secret Wars,
right.
And then they brought it back. So that was in 2015. Then they brought it back in 2017, and they had 1 to 12, which is again a young story. They just sort of not picked it up where the last book left off, but just sort of like, oh, we want to tell this again, and someone else wants to work on Renew Your Vows. And then they did 8 years later. Right, okay. Yeah, which was nice. Like, I've enjoyed all three of them, if that makes sense. Yeah. If you want to split them up into three, I've enjoyed all three.
I really liked how they had the 3 different perspectives in 3 different issues to reach the same point.
Exactly.
I thought that was really well done, and I thought that was a really nice way of acknowledging the 3 different characters and how important they all are to the plot and the family, and how they work together, but also how they also think separately. That was brilliant. Because that was really nicely done.
That's the thing that can happen in these books sometimes, or like the concern can be is like, it's a Spider-Man book, so Spider-Man takes the lead and these two become side characters, or it's an Annie book because, she's the new character and the parents take a back foot.
Well, the Annie book was the next 3 issues, the other half of the graphic novel.
All 3 of them get a focus point and stuff like that, and they all play important parts, and they all bring different perspectives, because sometimes Peter's wrong, well, most of the time Peter's wrong and Mary Jane is right, and he should just listen to Mary Jane, but there's also times when Mary Jane needs to listen to either Peter or Annie and stuff like that, and it is really cool to see. I liked the because it was split into 2 halves. You had the 8 years later, and then you had Hard Times at Middleton High and stuff like that. And the Midtown High stuff I really enjoyed, because obviously
that was nice.
Peter becomes a teacher there, and it's more about Annie finding friends.
Those 3 issues, I actively disliked the art. The first 3 issues didn't like particularly. Those 3 issues, I really disliked it. Peter was ugly as sin.
And it did look different.
I really, really disliked the art, to the point where it put me off the book a little bit. Just personal taste. I'm sure other people like that style, but that art didn't resonate with me. And it's a shame, because it was a nice little storyline, a clever little storyline with 2 kind of well fleshed out, but ultimately throwaway jobber superheroes.
Because they were nicely done. They were only there for 3 issues. They only had powers for 3 issues and stuff like that, but they still added to Annie's story.
But it was a really nice teenage story, whereas the first one was a family story. The second half was more of a teenage story, and it was really well done.
It's good as well, because Renew Your Vows has done this before. Like, the issues before, they'll take like maybe 3 issues to focus on one of the characters. So like Mary Jane had a story where she got the Venom symbiote took over her. So she had like the focus point for 3 issues, but again it was Peter and Annie trying to help her deal with that. And in this it was Annie's story, but yet Mary Jane again helps, and Peter's there, in the school, like trying to like work it all out. And it's nice that you can have these 3 characters, but no one even if one takes the forefront, the others don't get lost in the limelight, which I think is nice. And it's, again, family books. It was beautiful. What did you think about the little origin thing at the first thing? Because it's so beautiful.
The little origin thing?
Yeah.
What do you mean?
8 years later, they have like a origin thing at the back.
Oh, yeah, that was clever. That was nice, and it was helpful for people who either hadn't read the book for a while or hadn't read the book at all. So, yeah, that was cool. Comics need more stuff like that as well, because it's difficult to get into comics.
So, like I said previously, they did that for all the legacy things, but the one I really enjoyed about this was just how cute it was, because it was a celebration, it felt, of Mary Jane and Peter's relationship.
You were such a squishy person.
I am, but it was just so cute, because they were just like, they subtly mentioned that in another universe, like the devil's Mephisto. I know, I just stumbled. Mephisto sort of appears, but it like,
I like the Mephisto character.
They mention it, like they go,
it's just nasty.
Like, and I can't think of a world without her, and then Mephisto's in the background. It's just like, oh, but there is a world where you're without her, and it's not good.
Oh, Mephisto.
But it's looking like they might come back together, so fingers crossed. But if not, for the meantime, we've always got Renew Your Vows. And
yeah, and for me, I'd enjoyed the original Renew Your Vows, and I'd seen that as a natural ending. And I did enjoy coming back to it. I do feel like this is the kind of comic book that I will never prioritise. It's fun, it's cool,
yeah,
but it's not something I'm going to prioritise. There are other books that I'm much more into, but I understand completely that this is really well written, really fun, really cool, and if I've got a spare half an hour, I will pick up another one, but it's not something I think I'll actively seek out. Doesn't mean I thought it was bad, because I didn't. I liked it, but yeah. It's fun and it's cute.
It's interesting the way it worked out, because we say trade off, and usually we do give each other trades, but I had to give you single issues.
Yeah, just give me single issues. It's the same thing. What would have been in the trade.
Yeah. This was on my pull for the longest time, and it's really funny because it was one of them. It literally came out usually once a month, sometimes not even that. So it was, like you say, it wasn't always I'm going into my comic book store for Renew Your Vows. It was always a nice, pleasant surprise. It's like, oh, there's another Renew Your Vows here. And it's like, it was a nice sort of side story, because there's so many Spider-Man books out, and I was like, oh, here's a nice little thing.
I haven't done that yet. I haven't given you single issues as the equivalent of a trade, but I will be doing that when we read Runaways, the new run of Runaways. So, you know, we can do this. We can break the rules. This is our show. Damn it.
Oh, I don't know. Rule breakers. Rebels.
Mavericks.
Innit?
Look at us being maverick.
Mankfricks, because we're both Manchester people now.
That's true.
I was going to say we're both Manx at heart, but then I remembered you're not actually originally from Manchester.
Yeah, but I've lived in Manchester longer than I've ever lived anywhere else.
Exactly.
I'm as Mank. In fact, I've lived in Manchester as long as you've been alive, mate.
You're just as Mank as me.
Yeah, I'm pretty Mank.
Mank.
Just don't sound it. Thank goodness.
Oh, what? Get in the bin. And with that attack on Manx accents, sure, mate, you're like close to Birmingham. Yeah. That's the worst accent of all.
Yeah, but my accent softened to a kind of weird amalgam of lots of things.
It's funny, just to, again, digress and sort of... No, actually, yeah, let's keep this in. I was going to say, we'll save this for another thing, but no. There was this Facebook post, and it was like, what would you rather have? And it was a poll. Obviously, it's a meme where, like, the poll's already been picked out.
I've heard of memes.
And it was like, what would you rather have, chlamydia or a Birmingham accent? And it was like 90% chlamydia, 10%
Well, it's easier to get rid of chlamydia, to be fair.
And with that is trade-off for this week. If you have checked out any of the Renew Your Vows, any like form, the Secret Wars ones, the early like 12 issues, or the 8 years later, or you're still reading it now, we would love to get your thoughts. And if you haven't read it, but you've listened to us talk about it, are you keen to read it now? If you're a Peter Parker and Mary Jane obsessed person like me, just want them to be together, I'd definitely recommend it. It will cure that thing that's been missing in your heart. And if you just want a love sappy story, or a family friendly, nice family wholesome thing, definitely check it out. But yeah, like we say, if you do check it out, or if you have checked it out, let us know your thoughts. Facebook discussion group we've got going on. We've got our Twitter and the YouTube comment section below the YouTube video.
So listen to Geek of the Week. Be sure to tune in next week. Same geek time, same geek channel.
And if you want to follow us on social media, it's at GOTW Radio on Twitter. Search for Geek of the Week Radio Show on Facebook. And to listen again, it's www.mixcloud.com/Geek of the Week Radio Show.